Queen is dead. Long live the King. So, like a lot of people, I didn't really have an internalized understanding of the mortality of the Queen. She was monarch when I was born, and like a lot of people pointed out, it was almost like she was never going to die. Now, a lot of us, if we had taken the time to rationally think about it, we would have absolutely realized that that was an impossibility. But I guess for a lot of us, it just didn't seem particularly likely, especially given the longevity of the Queen Mother. And on a personal note, there's okay, I'll have to give you a bit of detail. My family name is Windsor, Winsor. My family comes from the south of England. And we came to Newfoundland, well, they came to Newfoundland about 300 years ago, give or take. And yes, the royal family didn't start using the Windsor with the D until the First World War. For uncharitably, one could say that it was for propagandist reasons, to avoid being tarred with the same brush as the Germans. However, given that they were English royals, it makes sense that they would name themselves for an area of England to show loyalty to their country, to their realm, their domain, what have you. On a further personal note, because my family name is Windsor without a D, although some members of the family somewhere along the line started inserting the D incorrectly and undeservedly, there was a family legend that we were related in some fashion to the British royals. It's totally untrue. We're as common as dirt. But in Newfoundland culture, our respected elders are generally called aunt or uncle, and their name. And growing up, it was not uncommon for me and my father to... my father, by the way, was born a British subject. I was not. I'm part of the first generation of my family who was not born a British subject. But it wasn't uncommon for my father and myself to refer to the Queen as Aunt Liz or Cousin Betty. Now, granted, these were obviously humorously meant. I don't believe my father bought into the idea that we were actually related to the royals. But surprisingly, when I heard the news that Queen Elizabeth had passed away, it struck me harder than I would have expected it to. And both because she's been something of a legend figure in my family and such a constant in... I mean, she was the queen for my entire life to this point. And she was queen for my father's entire life. No, sorry, that's incorrect. But my father was certainly only in single digits when she was crowned. But it fills me with a measure of pride this morning to look out my window and see that every flag I can see is standing at half staff. Uh, so it's good that Newfoundland still remembers its colonial roots. There are still people alive here in Newfoundland who remember when we were a colony of Britain, and a very few who remember when we were a dominion, when we were an independent country, and uh, probably even fewer who actually remember when we were part of the kingdom. Uh, but it's surprising the sense of grief that I've got today. Um, and it is it's definitely a cultural shift to lose someone who served as long as Queen Elizabeth II. Uh, she was, as I said, a constant, an institution, all to herself. And the fact that she really exemplified the idea of public service more than any politician. Uh, I mean, that's an ideal to strive for, to be of service to your community, especially when your community is essentially an extended family of millions of people. And the fact that there are people on Twitter absolutely crapping all over her and being completely disrespectful, while, as Carl Benjamin on the Lotus Eaters pointed out, really all they're doing is posting their L's. Um, and God bless Count Dankula, 50th, 37th, whatever he is in line for the throne. uh, yeah. Uh, it's it's really nice to see someone with a high profile who really isn't a monarchist at all, pushing back against these people and just calling out their bullshit. Um, as far as Charles goes, he's definitely not popular. A lot of people think that he doesn't really have the, well, he certainly doesn't have the bearing, let alone the moral fiber to make as good a king as his mother made a queen. Um, as I described it in one of the comments I made on the Lotus Eaters chat, um, Elizabeth was as close to a modern samurai as one could hope, because samurai were ideally servants of their people and protectors. Um, a lot of people are talking about how she was extremely privileged and all this sort of stuff. And all I can think is, how much of a privilege is it to be 24 hours a day at the beck and call of the needs of millions of people for your entire life? That doesn't strike me as privileged. That strikes me as obligated. And what a lot of people seem to be missing, and was pointed out by the Lotus Eaters. Elizabeth literally got off of her deathbed to meet with Liz Truss when she became the new Prime Minister. Yes, very, very privileged person. When Philip died, was that really only last year? Or within the last year even? When Philip died and the Queen sat alone with a mask on, the amount of restraint she was showing by not saying hang the rules and mourning the way that anyone else would have really showed you how important her role was to her as monarch. And I don't have any hope that Charles would ever show the same decorum. He's clearly not. He's gotten himself involved in politics and causes already. William, at least, who a lot of people are hoping will end up king before too long. I don't think there's necessarily a public push for Charles to abdicate in favor of William, but I think that might be a good choice. I think the best thing for Charles, if he wants to be a public figure and still be politically active, the best thing for him is to abdicate and kind of wander off into the wilderness, as it were, or certainly to step back and be in the background. William, as far as I know, hasn't done much in the way of politicking. If he's done any, for that matter, I don't know. The fact that he and, oh goodness, Kate, took me a moment to remember her name, but the fact that he and Kate are, at this point, the exemplary royals, now that Elizabeth has passed, it would be very healthy for them to be king and queen, or queen consort, or whatever the term would be that she would get. If I recall correctly, though, given that they're married, and if he assumes the title, then she would automatically be queen. But they appear to have an extremely healthy relationship, and I think William is probably the most like his grandmother in terms of his attitude towards public service, and for my money, William would be a better king than Charles. So those are my thoughts on what's going on with the monarchy at this time. For Elizabeth, I can only say Requiescat in pace, and whoever it ends up being, God save the king. That's going to be it for me today. I don't really have much else to say. I will do a bit of shilling, just because it's YouTube and it's necessary. So, please like, share, subscribe, comment. If you feel particularly generous, there is a donation link, the PayPal below. And I've added the Shades of Dominion game to my description block. That's every Thursday evening, 10:30 Newfoundland time, which I know means next to nothing to most people. It would be 9 o'clock Eastern. Also, at 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. There's the Sultans of Shadilay on Saturdays, which I'm a proud regular member of. And I will be doing my regular Sunday live stream at 11:30 to 12:30 Newfoundland time. I won't be doing a woodworking stream today. I did a marathon bit of streaming yesterday for my 100 sub celebration. I'm very proud of that, and I'm very grateful to everyone who subbed. But beyond that, I don't really feel like doing a lot online today. And I think it's appropriate for me to take a day of mourning for the loss of my beloved Aunt Liz. So, I hope you're having a good day. I hope you continue to have good days. And rise again until lambs become lions. Bye-bye.